Humble beginnings.
Humble beginnings.
And we're here. And it's humble. The podcast is still kind of humble.
I don't think kinda. I think it's pretty humble.
But we're getting there. Speaking of humble, I saw on Twitter the other day, somebody, this was a couple weeks ago, but someone posted pictures from the Never Say Die tour of King, and someone commented on it and said, this man, referring to you, is rocking $800 pairs of shoes on stage. Baller, or something like that. I think it was the D&Gs.
That's strange.
Why is that strange?
I guess it's kind of cool, but it's usually the opposite sentiment.
People think it's whack.
Well, I think we talked about this before, as we always say in every episode, but yeah, pretty much. Multi-millionaires get on stage with ripped up comic book hero t-shirts and act poor, to appeal to their... It's like you just put on the Eminem song about hating his stepdad. He's 50 years old. He has a song with a chorus that says, I hate my stepdad.
It's just one of those songs that you can tell is just so clearly written for a specific type of person and not from, like, his point of view.
Yeah.
Or if it is, it's like 35 years too late.
I don't really have any problem with it. I just, I don't, even trying to act poor when you're not, I do have a problem with disingenuine, you know what I mean? But some people just don't give a fuck about, like Kurt Cobain. It's kind of like you couldn't catch him not being Kurt Cobain. Does that make sense?
Yeah, how do you feel about, like, they sold Nirvana t-shirts at, like, Kohl's and Walmart and shit?
I don't think he would have...
You don't think he would have been feeling it?
Not really, but his estate...
They're feeling it?
Was it Courtney?
I don't know.
Courtney and...
Dave Grohl?
I'm not sure, but they're probably feeling it. I don't really know. I know as you get older, your ideas change, or your thoughts change, or your opinions change, but I don't really care what people's shit is. It's just the contrived things. I don't really know. You can't ever be too sure, you can't know. You can't say, I know this is disingenuous or whatever. But some things just come off as sus.
I wonder what Kurt would be doing, or what he would be saying if he was around for these last 30 years that he's been gone, 25 years. Right? Because he's such a symbol
It should
and
be
an
low
icon.
key. I think the icon thing would... I don't really know. I don't really know if it's cool to speculate, but I think he'd just be low key. It's hard to remove someone's iconic boost from death.
Yeah.
And then reverse engineer them to be alive and
Right.
Themselves. Like people talk about that with Pac. It's hard to remove the death from the story, because people say shit like, Pac would be doing this or that, or Pac was around, none of you motherfuckers. It's like, no, that's not true. The next thing would still come. But it's easy to say what wouldn't, but it's hard to extract the death from the story, You don't... It's impossible to know, but it's fun to speculate, I guess. Disingenuine is weird.
I want to go back to the $800 shoes.
Oh, the sentiment's usually the opposite, I guess.
People think you're a sellout, or people just don't even acknowledge it.
I don't think most people know or care.
Yeah.
Which is good.
What's the most expensive outfit you've ever rocked on stage?
Why would you ask me this?
You don't have to say the exact price, but give me the rundown of what it was. Because
Okay, so I wasn't asking you why you were asking because I was embarrassed or ashamed. I'm not. I couldn't care less what anyone thinks of me, but I'm asking because did you really have this in your head when we sat down?
No.
Oh, okay.
I never
No,
did.
you're riffing.
Because we have probably close to an hour worth of footage of you every day before the show breaking down your outfit that we've just never really.
Well, because you always come up like, all right, well, let me get a swag rundown, and it's just funny. So if you don't know that we have a sense of humor, albeit a little bit different, then it seems, what is that? Materialistic or corny or, yeah, it's not. To answer the question, probably a few grand or something. Maybe three. Maybe 3.
No one else is doing that aside from rappers, right? No other dudes that just have their stage clothes that they wear,
Their
put
t-shirts,
on,
yeah.
and then they hang up, and then they put it on. But you're putting together full ensemble outfits every day.
I just like them, yeah. Most people don't care, and it's fine, you know?
Do you think it maybe has something to do with, like, it's almost like a stage play in a sense? Because I remember you said, like, oh, last time we were here I wore this kind of outfit, so I got to switch it up and give them a new layer or a new whatever.
Well,
so it's like,
first I think it's cultural. I think I think that's just where I'm from, whatever, and what I feel like doing. Some days I just don't give don't care.
Yeah.
So it's not a thing, but I am interested in it. It's almost like a gray area. When you say you have a pair of $1,500 shoes, you get looked at a certain way. They it's like materialistic, and it is true if that's all that matters to you in life. But if you just care about artisan shit,
okay,
that's different. So if I'm sitting here and I got this, and you're like, oh, he's self-conscious or egotistical or vain, but I'm like, I think we talked about this before. It's like, you don't really know what I am. Because if I spout off 100 different reasons or meanings, I can just spout out a simple one. Someone has a really nice watch, and you're like, oh, he's kind of a material, a nice watch, like Playboy type of da-da-da. What if it was just a gift? What if it's as simple as that?
Yeah.
Is that guy not any of those things anymore? Is that the assumption? Where I think it's a gray area. I think if you don't care at all, that's perfectly fine. It doesn't matter. But I have a real problem with ignorance of it. And I also have a problem with people that don't know their asshole from a hole in the ground commenting on it. As far as, I would never get $1,000 pair of shoes because well, you don't even have $1,000, first off. So you can't really talk your shit, You never will. So go to hell. Or if I had this, then I wouldn't do that. It's like, no, you wouldn't, because you'll never have it, or else the people that are in the same space, you notice how they never have those type of ideas?
Yeah.
It's only the people that'll never get there, and that's because their mind is so stupid. So to get back to what we were saying, I don't really care about, it's not a big deal, it doesn't matter to me, but I'm interested in many things, and I think we talked about this before when we talked about materialistic things, and when we talked about, I was saying I've spent way more money on books than any other thing that I
Right.
own. So does that get me off the chain for everything you can think of? Because I've spent more money on my brain than I have, period, with bar none. Really, the $1,000 shoes is like nothing, you know.
In comparison.
It's $40 in comparison to this, to the book collection. But so my idea isn't the stupid idea about material things. The idea is you don't know shit about anything though. Like when I get to talking to people, I discover that their knowledge of everything is pretty much non-existent. So it's like, okay, say I have a shoe and I like shoes or clothes or whatever it is, and I know a decent amount about them. If we switch it to what you know about and your expertise, why do I still know more than you about your expertise? You know what I mean? It just comes down to stupid people. Anyone I talk to with this type of idea, they don't even have a field where they can say, well, this is what I'm interested in, and if you just sit quietly, I can kind of tell you about it. If you ask me about shoes, I could tell you a whole podcast about them. If you ask me about, you know, and a bunch of other
Diamonds
things, music or
chains.
diamonds or, yeah, just things that I like. I could also make a whole one about socioeconomics or spirituality or all these things that I'm interested in. But I have a real problem again with when I said that fundamentally my problem was with the disingenuine at the first topic. This topic is pretty much the same. I don't think that I tend to think the polar ends are the wrong places to be. So if you're all for them and you worship these loser old white men that have these fashion houses that don't give a shit whether you wear their clothes or not, something's probably wrong with you. But if you are just ignorant as fuck to everything possible, making inaccurate assumptions about every Tom, Dick, or Harry that is a part of anything with the fashion industry, that's probably not a good place to be in either, you know? At least try to be somewhere in the middle, I guess. But then I also have another thing I think we kind of talked about before too, is I don't believe in saying shit you have no experience with. You know what I mean? Which is goofy as fuck.
Yeah, when we did the bull running, right?
Yeah, or anything. It's like it's just moronic, I guess. Don't know how else to put it really.
So where did your interest in fashion, right? Because you said you know about it and you know about socioeconomics and all that. So like, where did your interest in fashion come from? Because you grew up pretty poor, right? I'm sure you weren't
Dirt.
rocking Dolce
When I was a
Gabbana when you were a
kid,
kid.
A lot of people around here know this or whatever, but man, I was ahead of the time. My family's from Scotland, okay? Let me break this shit down for you. I got thrown out of fucking school. I think it was middle school, but I can't remember. It could have been high school. For wearing a dress, right? So I was way above it. It was a dress.
Okay.
But I was
Young
on my
Thug stuff.
it was on my Celtic shit though.
Okay.
And yeah, so now it's cool and everyone's just like, yeah, you can't say anything to anyone about anything. And basically everything's okay. But back then it wasn't. So me and my homeboys actually got suspended and shit. Me and Yavid and Kat, you know.
You were all rocking dresses?
Yeah, we were doing, my brother, and we were doing whatever the fuck we felt like, right? We were listening to Manson and doing whatever was possible. We'd be looking like the Crow. We would be doing whatever, you know, like when you wake up, you just, there's a bunch of psychological Freudian reasons why But the point is, we were suspended and thrown out of school for doing that back then. Nowadays, I don't think there's a school in this goddamn country that would dare try to throw you out for wearing a male wearing a dress. This was a floor-length dress, by the way. It wasn't like some cross-dressing skirt where, you got the dick hanging out the bottom and shit. It was a... So, I remember caring how I looked. Always cared how I looked. Even when you get pissed that you're going to school with the shitty-ass... I remember going to school with a shitty pair of shoes called the Volts. They were $6 from St. Vincent de Paul's bag sale.
What do they look
You
like?
give $1 and then you fill up a paper bag, as many pieces of clothes items you can fill up in this church.
They were like a running shoe kind of looking thing.
They were barely a walking shoe. They look like a fake ass. I don't know what they would be. Anyway, the point was, I told everyone they were the new Deion Sanders.
Okay.
Because I was trying to get my clout up. This was in, I don't know, 2nd grade. And they trying to look. You looking up Volt? It could be Voight. It could be Volt.
When you look up Volt, the only thing that comes up is like the Volt color.
Oh, okay.
Of Nikes, that tennis ball color.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've seen.
They weren't. They were black, but I always cared about that shit. But going back to that, thinking that the gray area is where we want to be, is I care about everything. You know what I mean? I tried to tell someone earlier when I was sitting down reading a book. It was on driving techniques.
That's the book you were reading?
Yeah, it's 400 pages. It's driving something and techniques, right?
What kind of driving?
Driving a car. Just
like normal on the highway, or like John Wick status?
It covers many various maneuvers. And this is a 400-page book. And this harkens back to everything we've talked about thus far. This kid walks by. He's like, "What are you reading?" And I'm like, "Man, that's not what you need to be asking me right now. It's a 400-page book on driving techniques. You want my opinion," and he did. He wanted a recommendation. So he was trying to see what I was reading. I was like, the recommendation is you need to tell me what type of book you like, and I'll tell you what you should read. You shouldn't really be looking at what I'm doing, because I read 400 of these a year. This isn't as important to me. I mean, it is important, but it's not as effective for you to read this book, because you're going to read 2 this year, maybe. 1, probably. You're going to read 1 book this year. 100% of the books you read this year do not need to be about driving techniques, all right? I read a book this morning, and I'm done with that one, and I'll read another one tomorrow. But once again, it's just understanding the situation, that there's more gray area in it when you talk about these types of things. It's like, it's because I'm interested in all of this shit, just a genuinely curious interest. It's the only thing I can get back to. Always, I keep probably repeating it on this, but if I listen back, then I would probably have an idea of what we've talked about in the past. But being curious is a big deal. You're
almost, and don't take this the wrong way, but you're like curious to a fault sometimes. Like, we'll be talking about a movie, and I'll be like, yeah, I saw this movie, something, and then a couple days later, you'll be like, I watched that movie, it fucking sucked. I'm like, well, I wasn't telling you to watch it, but like, I was just telling you about some part in it, and you'll just go watch it because you just want to know.
Just curiosity, right? Yeah, I guess so, yeah. Anything anyone mentions, I'll watch or read
or Google or
and it's
whatever.
What's crazy is people are like, it's not that I have the time though. It's just a real, and that's the difference between what I'm saying is, I'm not sitting around waiting for recommendations. I just am genuinely curious, and I have a curiosity that I don't find in people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To a sense where even if I don't like you, I will listen to your album.
Just because you're curious.
Yeah, and that's curious to a fault to me, because I don't want this shit in my head. Like I always say when we're on these tours, I hate that I know these bands' names and their music from overhearing it backstage or in a green room, or knowing the band name from a flyer or whatever, or just hearing it repeated.
Because it has an
It's
effect.
just garbage in your brain. Most of the shit I don't even like, so I really don't even give a fuck. But you put shit in there, it's going in there, it ain't never coming out. And back to the point though, it's not that I just am after everything or whatever it is. I just have a real thirst, I guess.
What you said about the reading 400 books to this person reading 2 a year or whatever made me think of a quote I read a couple days ago, referring specifically to Joker, the movie, and how I think it has the most Academy Award nominations.
Of course.
Which, that's a topic for another time, the relevancy and the legitimacy of the Academy Awards. But someone said, of course you'll think a pool is deep if you've never seen the ocean. So it's like all these people that are praising Joker. It's like, have you seen other movies?
And the answer is no.
Right.
The answer
I don't think Joker's a bad movie.
Right, but seldom, and I guess this is a dickhead thing to say that I don't necessarily believe all the way, but it's not uncommon for the whole list of potential award winners to be bullshit.
They usually get...
They get some things
one
right.
Or two.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I don't want to just be that guy who
Right.
thinks he's punk rock and doesn't like everything that people like, because I like shit people like. I like a lot of shit like that.
It's crazy to me when people totally write off awards and say, like, oh, it's just Hollywood patting itself on the back. It has no relevancy. It doesn't matter. When there's clear statistical data that it 100% matters.
Yeah.
Because, did you see that 1917 movie that just came out?
No. Is that on that TV yet?
No, it just came out 2 weeks ago. But the week it came out, it won the Golden Globe for Best Drama. And then it super overperformed at the box office. And it's every year. Whichever movie wins the Academy Award sees a huge uptick in either DVD sales or it'll get second life at a theater. It's like...
Yeah, it's like that with Grammy.
Yeah.
If you have a gold record and you perform at the Grammys, you're getting a platinum one coming up pretty soon, and that's just the nature. That's why everyone wants to play the Super Bowl, right? But
it's just funny that the everyman thinks that they can just say oh, that shit doesn't matter. Why? Because you think it's bullshit, but
right, in a way it doesn't, but in a way it does, because it's funny. It's funny because they're, to use your favorite phrase, they're not mutually exclusive. It's funny to say it's Hollywood patting itself on the back when the people that are on these, I don't think anyone knows how these award nominations and things work. There is a collective group of people. And they are in the business.
Yeah.
So when you say it, you're not wrong, but you are kind of not right either. Because what? Who would you suggest they call you up?
Right.
So you could...
man.
Right.
They did.
Call Tim on his couch so he can tell him what the nominations are.
Last year they talked about adding a best blockbuster or something award, which was the best movie that did well with the general public.
Oh, like the common denominator, the layman's award.
No, don't do that. That's stupid.
But that's probably a bunch of people would think that was just the best idea.
Yeah, because it was...
They're like, it's our award. It's for the fucking people,
Black
man.
Panther would have been the front runner for that. Because it was it was a good enough movie, but it had a lot of cultural significance, and a lot of people went and saw it. And probably same thing with Joker this year. Okay movie, good movie, but people are just singing the praises. Fucking it's...
Yeah, my biggest gripe would not be that it's Hollywood patting itself on the back. I would my gripe with even though I don't really like to focus on gripes, but the thing that I kind of piques my interest as far as I think it's bullshit is the virtue signaling of the nominations.
How they'll nominate.
You put race, you put anything in a movie. If you say Joker's about the socio-economic or the society's idea of bullying, then now it's actually an important cultural film.
Yeah.
It's not important or cultural. It's a fucking comic book movie. And yeah, you have one of the best actors in the world playing the Joker. It's going to be good, and it is good. But a lot of these, it's a real self-conscious, kind of real liberal industry trying to be virtuous and let the rest of the world know that they are good people.
On the flip side of that, I do think it's crazy how, like with Joker, people were like, "This is a dangerous movie. It shouldn't be out there because it's gonna inspire people to do something." And it's like, that's
what?
It's not like a, you know what I mean? It's not a sending a direct message of like, it's not a manifesto, or you know what I mean? It's like a movie.
Yeah, I guess what was kind of popping into my head when I was hearing that shit is like, oh, they must have done well marketing then.
Yeah.
Because
people hadn't even seen it.
I heard Morass's fucking retarded ass say, "Man, it's the only movie I ever went to the theater and there was cops in there waiting." It's like, yeah, that's probably marketing.
It's probably.
Or you went in Detroit or something.
Or probably coincidentally something happened.
Right. Or that day someone whooped someone's ass in a
Right.
Flint theater, and of course there are some cops there. I don't know. I'm always super suspicious about the marketing thing.
Like, do you remember when Straight Outta Compton was coming out, and there was articles like theaters with increased security for Straight Outta Compton screenings? But I did actually. I went to the rave. I think it might not have been the rave at that time, but I went there and saw it, and the movie started, and all the lights stayed on, and I was like, they're really not fucking around with this. And then it was just a fuck up, and the lights went off, but. They were saying like, oh, movie theaters are going to have increased security because they think that this movie's going to incite race riots and.
Right.
But
it's like race riot.
Did.
Are you fucking high?
People went and
it's
saw the movie.
2020
Cool.
in America.
And it's crazy because that's a movie based on stuff that really happened.
Right.
Like if it was going to incite race riots, why is this movie 20 years after the fact, 30 years after the fact?
I think it's a regurgitated idea, I think. And it sounds, if there were someone sitting here right here with a different set of beliefs would say, wait a minute, did you just say, are you kidding, a race riot in 2020? There's one of those every week. And it's just like, yeah, you do think that. That's the sad part. You know what I mean? You think Virginia trying to not change their Second Amendment is a race riot. You think everything's a race riot. If someone says something, you believe Nazis are running around in America. You think the president's a Nazi. Things like that, you know. So I think people would probably think that I'm ignorant for saying that there's not a race riot in 2020.
It's that whole cancel culture. You can just say someone's anything.
Yeah.
Because you can.
Yeah, and just say whatever. There's really no virtue, you know. You don't have to be accountable. You don't have to be right. You can just say things. It doesn't matter.
One thing that I thought was funny about the Academy nominations, and it was the Golden Globe nominations too, people were outraged, to use their word, that no women got nominated for Best Director. And it's like, there was maybe 3 movies this year directed by a woman that were even on my radar. And I saw one of them, and I didn't think it was that good. And I do get that.
Well, you got to clear it up that when you say like on your radar, people are going to be like, why does your radar matter? So you got to be like, hey, just to toot my own horn, I have a degree in film. This is the one thing I care about. Watch more movies than anyone listening, and you have to preface it like, and then they'll still say you're full of shit.
Right.
They'll be like, "Oh, your film degree ain't shit. I sit on my couch with my kids and watched six
That's
movies
what,
last year."
Not to get off topic, but I remember when we saw John Wick 3, and I said, that's the best trilogy of movies, hands down. John Wick 1, 2, 3. And someone was like, fuck you, Star Wars. And I was like,
Well,
no,
that's not a trilogy.
not a
but
trilogy,
all right.
but they're like, what the fuck does your opinion matter? And I was like, what is yours?
It
You know,
doesn't
you're just
matter.
some nobody that's clinging to the past with Star Wars.
It
I
doesn't
can
matter,
give
but
you
you engaged it.
10 reasons. You can't give me one other than Star Wars is shit. But
But that just means you can't count to 3.
Right.
Because there's not even.
Well, you're
How many
clinging,
Star
you're
Wars?
clinging to when Star Wars was a trilogy.
Oh, okay. So you're
But-
trying to cling.
Because John Wick soon to not be a trilogy.
Right, but I would ask how old this guy was, and then note
Well, it
that
was
he
one of
wasn't even
Hazel's
old.
buddies.
Oh, of course.
So,
So he's the man.
but yeah, he was like, what does your opinion matter? And I was like, more than yours, because I have a piece of paper that says it does,
Right.
I guess. But yeah, it's crazy that people think like women should be nominated just because. Which I get that there is,
Yeah.
if you nominate more women, then Hollywood will give women more chances to direct movies and blah, blah, blah. It's a
Yeah.
circle, but it's like you can't just nominate a woman because she's a woman.
But the thing about it is, I think that a lot of times it is like that.
Yeah.
I mean, even when you look at these schools, they have to let X amount of Asians in a year. It don't matter if their scores are high or low. If they have to let 6 in, you know what I mean? Admissions in Ivy League schools and things. You could be the dumbest guy on the list, but if you're Asian and they haven't met their quota, then you're getting in. You know what I mean? They have to let so many, and that's just how those types of things are. They have to let X amount of Hispanics and any minority things in.
This is something I don't know. Are those quotas set upon them by the government or themselves?
I really don't know.
Because if it's on themselves, then how can you say that? If they want to have a certain setup, who are you to say that they can't? Right.
Yeah, I think. I know that education is a real liberal
Yeah.
industry, and I really mean industry. But I'm not sure who's laying down the sanctions. But regardless of who it is, there are self-governing bodies that do just fine. I mean, we're one, right? We're a band, and I don't always love the decisions we make. And I can always say, fuck that. But you're a part of I'll call us a semi-democratic, because there are other opinions, but they don't matter that much.
So it's almost like, what would that even be? Authoritarian?
Yeah, I would just say it's a dictatorship. There's a cool quote in the closure, the VHS, the Nine Inch Nails VHS, where someone's talking to Trent, and he's like, well, the only 2 people that make the decisions here, which are me and me. That's what I always said growing up with my shitty friends in the bands when we were in the skirts getting thrown out of school. That was what the quote that we always let everyone know. There's only 2 people making decisions here.
It seems like it almost has to be, because if you had, most bands have 5 people. If you had 5 people all making equal decisions, you'd never go anywhere. You'd never get anything done.
Yeah. There's a natural law about distribution, and
It's too many cooks. Spoil the broth.
that's pretty easy. Yeah. But it's called the Pareto distribution, which is the cream rises at the top. In short, it's a mathematical law, but equality of outcome is not the same, because equality of input is not the same.
Sure.
So
And
that's
there's no way
natural.
that 5 people could all have the same, especially in a band where the
No.
5 people are all doing something different.
No, what's funny is that that's an idea, but we all know and love only bands that had leaders, and then the supporters of those leaders. You know what I mean?
Is there any band that you can think of that doesn't do that has 4 or 5 dudes that are all on an equal? There's no way, right? It couldn't. I'm trying to think of like Metallica.
That can't be it, right?
Can't, because the bass player doesn't really do anything, right?
Well,
Or
which
they
one?
replaced him, right?
Well, we got to look into something on the documentary that they made and see that it, without knowing real dynamics, I think it seems so obvious that it shouldn't be like that, it can be collaborative in the sense that you all collaborate to create this one character.
Yeah.
As far as this is the personality of the band. Obviously, you would do X, Y, and Z and wouldn't do these A, B, and C. This is what type of band it is, like. But to take equal roles, I don't know, because you have to have a personality, and even if your personality is a culmination, like what are some of your favorite bands?
System of a Down.
Okay, so you have Serge and Darren, right?
Yeah. John and Chavo are kind of
Backbones, right?
Yeah.
Which
they're still
they should
key
be anyway.
members.
That's the drum and the bass. It's the rhythm
But
section. They should be the backbone.
as
That's
far as
exactly what the fuck a drum and bass
personality,
is.
they're all Armenian, so like that comes out through it. But and I don't think it's coincidental that the two driving forces are the two singers.
Yeah. Yeah, which seems fitting because, that's the personality.
Right.
And that's who you hear talking. Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. I always just... I don't know. Just thinking about it, it's trying to kind of tie it back to what we were talking about before. That is my one annoyance with the award things. I feel like people get shoehorned in when they weren't actually good.
Yeah.
Like, it's important to have equal representation of, all these things. A woman asked me this question before about women. She was saying, I just talked to, I think it was Heidi and Carla from Butcher Babies about, this was just coincidental, although we have played with them and they are pretty cool. She said the same thing about women. I was talking to them and I was talking about women in metal and how to get more women in metal, why there aren't any women in metal, and all these women in metal things. Women role model representation, singers and things, and I was like, you ever think they just didn't want to?
Yeah.
How come that's not an option? I was like, first off, you guys have the biggest role models. You know what I mean? You guys got Beyonce. You got
you're taking it beyond.
Yeah, I mean, who? I was like, you ever think maybe they just like Whitney Houston? And they didn't want the L7 or the whatever it might be. You know what I mean? Not saying they did, not answering for them, but at least making it a viable option to say, have you ever thought they didn't want to be in metal? Because it seems so dubious to sit around and say we need to get more women in metal. I mean, what year is it? You know what it takes to get into metal? Tap on a laptop a few times and where's the gender hurdle?
It's almost sometimes it feels like a selling point. It could be a positive.
What do you mean sometimes? I
Well,
know
'cause
motherfucking dude bro ass loser ass motherfuckers that I know only listen to bands with chicks singing.
Female fronted.
Not chicks playing guitar, not chicks playing drums.
Is the,
Female fronted
right.
bands.
But I guess I can't say... I say
Not,
sometimes because maybe there's a bunch of bands that I've never heard of that have female singers, but...
Right.
That don't put it on.
Yeah.
But...
I'm just saying, I always think the first question is, when I was asked that, I think we might have talked about that before as well, but I was thinking, have you ever asked women that if they wanted to be, maybe they didn't, maybe they did, but it's, why are you automatically jumping into, yeah, it's strange.
Forcing the inclusion.
Yeah. And then you get the strange stigmas that people come up with that are super outdated about, like, there's those stupid shirts I always see people that like metal wearing that's like, kill the Kardashians. Right. And it's like, you've never killed anyone and you never will. So what is the point? What is you're killing some fucking little girl?
Because she wore a Slayer t-shirt.
That's the bitch you are? Right. You're such a pussy. You want to kill some little girl. It's like, dude, why don't you kill a real, actual opponent?
Like yourself.
You fucking joke, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, 73-year-old fat-ass old white guys like, I'm gonna kill a Kardashian.
It's,
like, no, man, you're not. You know what you're gonna kill? That sixer at home.
It reminds
when
me...
your cat's fucking pissing in the fucking cat litter, you're gonna be drinking beer and watching Jeopardy. That's what you're gonna kill.
Watching Jeopardy? You're giving that guy a lot of credit.
I don't know these 53... I figure if you're Jeopardy. A 53-year-old man, you're probably watching public cable.
It reminds me of the last time we did the UK tour. We had the hoodie that said World's Most Dangerous Band, which, to clarify, as you told me, that wasn't a self-appointed or...
It wasn't a self-proclamation.
Yeah, you didn't think it was cool to put on there.
No, I thought it was stupid. But that's what their publication said. And then more publications wrote about it.
Right. And they just rolled with it and said, throw it on there because it's familiar. But I remember... at the show, this older dude came up, and I want to say he had like an Iron Maiden shirt on or something like that. I could just be filling in the blanks, but he was looking at the shit, and he was like, World's Most Dangerous Band, psh, yeah, right, he said some shit, and I just didn't fucking say anything, and then it was dark as hell, so I'm like shining my flashlight to like find some shit, and I apparently flashed him in the eyes with the flashlight. He's like, oh, the fuck's wrong with I can't see, and I like freaked out. I'm like, dude, you're gonna just laugh about who's the world's most dangerous band, and you can't take a phone flashlight?
You can't take an LED light in the eyes.
Try taking 500 lumens, motherfucker. How wild was last night, bitch?